About parallel lines, proving lines parallel. First thing I'll go over are the different relationships. So they're all listed here. We have alternate interior, that'd be like 3 and 6, 4 and 5. Alternate means on different sides of the transversal. Interior means inside the parallel line. Alternate exterior, very similar, it's just going to be outside the parallel lines. So for example, 1 and 8, 2 and 7. You also have consecutive interior and consecutive exterior. Consecutive just means same side, so same side of the transversal. So consecutive interior would be 4 and 6, or 3 and 5. Consecutive exterior, 1 and 7, 2 and 8. Corresponding angles are a set of angles where one will be inside, one will be outside. They look exactly the same, and they're going to be the same side of the transversal. So for examples 2 and 6, see how one's inside and one's outside? They're on the same side of the transversal. We also have 4 and 8, 1 and 5, 3 and 7. Basically, angles that look the same are the same, and the ones that look different are going to add up to 180. Proving lines parallel is a little bit different. We can't go off of the way the angles look. We have to go off the numbers and what we know about those different relationships, who should be congruent and who shouldn't be. But if you look at these angles, okay, in this first example, they're corresponding. One is inside, one is outside on the same side of the transversal. Those are corresponding angles, and those should be the same, and they're not. And you can kind of tell by looking. I mean, they're both obtuse angles, so they should have the same measurement. And if they don't, then these lines are not parallel, even though they look like it, because these pictures won't be drawn to scale. These lines are also not parallel because this is a set of consecutive interior angles. We should add up to 180. See how one's acute and one's obtuse? Anytime you have that, they should add up to 180. This 50 plus 110 is not 180, so those lines are not parallel. Also keep in mind, things like linear pairs and vertical angles do not make the lines parallel. Those relationships happen regardless of the lines being parallel or not. So those are nothing special. They're still true, but they don't make lines parallel. Let's look at a few practice questions. If you see a problem like this with a bunch of lines, I know it can be overwhelming, but remember, the two relationships that we'll see when you're dealing with parallel lines are things that are either going to be congruent or they're going to add up to 180. So first thing, I don't see anything that looks congruent. But is there anything that adds up to 180? Yeah, so if you look at 1 and 5 and 75, that adds up to 180. That also makes sense because this would be an example of consecutive exterior, and those should add up to 180. So make sure that you find something that's either equal or adds up to 180, and it should also be true. So because 75 and 105 are consecutive exterior and they add up to 180, and they should, that means that lines A and C will be parallel. So that's the choice we want. Okay, let's try another practice question. 2 and 6 are a pair of which type of angles? So 2 and 6. One's inside, one's outside, and then they're on the same side of the transversal. Hopefully you're thinking corresponding. It's kind of oddballs. All the other ones are either going to be both inside or both outside. So when you see one of each like that, that's going to be corresponding. Okay, a lot of lines going on here. They want to know which angle is not necessarily congruent to angle 1. Up here, this information is extremely important. A is parallel to B, and also C is parallel to D. When you have a problem like this where all the lines are, where both sets are parallel, that's going to make your job a lot easier because basically all the small angles are going to be congruent and all the big angles are going to be congruent. So let's find angle 1. Angle 1 is an obtuse angle, so I'm going to go through all of these choices and just see which one doesn't fit. If you look at angle 3 is also big, so that's going to work. Angle 9, also big, so it works. 12 looks acute, so that's not going to work. Let's go ahead and check out 16 just to make sure. 16 is also big, so 12 is the only one that does not look the same. If this doesn't happen up here, if both sets aren't parallel, if you have one set parallel and then the other's not parallel, then you basically have to treat it like two completely different problems. Like I have to deal with this transversal, then I have to deal with this transversal. Okay, the support legs on a bench are attached in such a way that the angle made by one leg with the ground is 130. What must the measure of the angle marked x be in order for the seat of the bench to be parallel to the ground? Okay, so let's look at x. X is an acute angle. 130, that's an obtuse angle. Okay, think about this part of the bench, and if you need to extend it, go and do that. So these are the parallel lines, and this is my transversal. So what I have here is a set of consecutive interiors. So those should add up to 180. Now even just kind of using your common sense, if this is a big angle and that's little, they're not going to be the same. They're going to add up to 180. So 50 would make that happen. Given measurement angle was 110, shall we label the picture? What must be true if these lines are parallel? Okay, let's just go through each of the options and see which one makes sense. Should 8 be 100? I don't think so, because these are both obtuse, so they should be the same. Angle 7 is 110. Okay, it doesn't look like it should be 110. This is not an obtuse angle, this is acute, they're not going to be the same. Angle 6 is 80. Okay, that would work if 110 plus 80 added up to 180, but it doesn't, so that's not it. It must be J. Angle 5 is 110. Let's think about that for a sec. That makes sense because these are corresponding angles. One interior, one exterior on the same side. They should add up, or they should be congruent. And if you just look at them too, they're both obtuse. Alright, that's it for G2, parallel lines. So what you should do now is try the worksheet and then go on to iTest and try the G2 quiz and let me know if you have any questions. Good luck!